Hey guys, this is Dr. Meeker, and today we're going to be looking at two great men from history. King Sejong, who was the king of Korea back about 600 years ago, and Benjamin Franklin, the great statesman from the United States back in the 1700s. Near the end of this presentation, we will be filling out this chart. If you go to your teacher's website, you can find a link and print the chart out. However, if you don't have a printer available, just get a blank sheet of paper and draw 11 circles on it. 3 on the top row, 5 on the middle row, and 3 on the bottom row. Now, the purpose of this exercise is not to say that one of these gentlemen is better than the other in some way, but rather to point to the accomplishments of both of them, and in fact that they are very similar in the accomplishments that they are noted for, and both men are quite honored in their own countries. King Sejong of Korea and Benjamin Franklin of the United States were both very intelligent men. They have many things in common, including being effective leaders, writers, and inventors. Even though they lived a long time ago, they are still greatly revered and honored by people in their countries. The first area we want to look at is leadership. King Sejong ruled Korea from the year 1418 until 1450. That's 32 years. It's quite a long time. He was the fourth king of the Yi dynasty. Upon becoming king, he brought the best minds in Korea together to help advise him on a variety of topics. Benjamin Franklin represented the United States as ambassador to France from 1776 to 1785. Along with George Washington, he helped lead the Constitutional Convention of 1787, helped to create our Constitution. In fact, he's credited for the Great Compromise, which created the Senate and the House of Representatives. Now let's look at language. King Sejong developed Hangul. That's the alphabet that matched the Korean language. And I believe we talked about that a bit in a previous lesson, how the letters of the Korean alphabet mimic the shape that your mouth makes when you make certain sounds. There are only 28 letters, and each letter represents a sound, kind of like the letters in the English language, much different from Chinese and Japanese. Benjamin Franklin, he began operating a print shop in Philadelphia in 1726. He published several newspapers and magazines, and we'll look at some of those in just a little bit. Let's look at a couple of quotes by these two gentlemen. First of all, King Sejong, and this is a quote about the new alphabet that he helped develop for Korean. He says, being of foreign origin, Chinese characters are incapable of capturing uniquely Korean meanings. Therefore, many common people have no way to express their thoughts and feelings. Out of my sympathy for their difficulties, I have created a set of 28 letters. The letters are very easy to learn, and it is my fervent hope that they improve the quality of life of all people. That same alphabet is still being used now, 600 years later. Now, Benjamin Franklin. Remember, he was a printer, and he said if all printers were determined not to print anything till they were sure it would offend nobody, there would be very little printed. Well, that's certainly true. You can't print anything without hurting somebody's feelings. He also said, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail. And that's some really good advice. I see that happening a lot. People are failing to prepare. They are then preparing to fail. He also said 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. Well, that's a lot of information about keeping secrets is accurate too, isn't it? Continuing on with literature, King Sejong in 1429 published the Nongsa Jiksil. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, but it was compiled under his supervision. It was the first book about Korean farming. It dealt with agricultural subjects like when you should plant, harvest and how to treat the soil. In 1732, Benjamin Franklin began publishing Poor Richard's Almanac, which provided information for farmers. It also contained jokes, household hints, puzzles, political cartoons, and wise sayings. Ben Franklin has many wise quotes that are still heard today. Both of these men were talented musically. Sejong's personal writings are highly regarded. I'm not going to try to pronounce the Korean names of these songs, but he composed the famous Songs of Flying Dragons in 1445, Episodes from the Life of Buddha in 1447, and Songs of the Moon Shining on 1,000 Rivers, also in 1447, and there's a picture down there of his original writing. Benjamin Franklin is known to have played the violin, the harp, and the guitar. He also composed music, notably a string quartet. And he developed a much improved version of the glass harmonica, an actual musical instrument in which the glass rotates on a shaft with the player's fingers held steady. There's a picture of it down there at the bottom, Ben Franklin's glass harmonica. And check it out, both of these gentlemen are featured on their country's currency. King Sejong is on the 10,000 won note. 10,000 won is roughly equal to about $10. And Benjamin Franklin is featured on the $100 bill. Even though he was never a president, most of the people on American currency were presidents, but Ben Franklin was not president, yet highly honored with his face on the $100 bill. Now let's look at scientific achievements. King Sejong developed the first rain gauge. Korea has rainfall records going back nearly 600 years. That's quite a long time of weather data that they have, so they can really predict rainfall patterns now effectively. Ben Franklin invented many things, including the first bifocal eyeglasses to help people see near and far away. And I use those because as you get older, your eyes kind of shift and it's harder to see close and far away. And so I'm grateful to Ben for that. Continuing in the area of scientific achievements, King Sejong oversaw new significant designs for water clocks, star charts, and sundials. Ben Franklin is credited with numerous discoveries concerning electricity. His inventions include the lightning rod, and that was a very important invention because it prevented many buildings from being burned down after being struck by lightning. It rerouted the charge of the lightning directly into the ground. There's a nice picture of King Sejong's statue in Seoul, South Korea, and Benjamin Franklin's statue in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Education. In 1420, King Sejong established the Hall of Worthies. It consisted of scholars selected by the king. The hall participated in various scholarly endeavors. In 1743, Benjamin Franklin founded the American Philosophical Society to help scientific men discuss their discoveries and their theories. Continuing with education, King Sejong ordered one top scholar to comb the country for intellectually talented young men who would be given a stipend to retreat for 1 year from their work. In other words, they would be paid to go and study for a year. The young scholars were sent to a mountain temple where they were allowed to read books on a vast array of subjects, including astronomy, medicine, geography, history, the art of war, and religion. In 1743, Ben Franklin helped to establish the Academy and College of Philadelphia. He became its president in 1749. This college was later merged with the University of Pennsylvania. Here are a couple of more quotes. King Sejong is talking about teachers. Unlike many other occupations, scholars have the greatest responsibility to the people. Their work can ultimately improve the lives of people for many decades. Well, that's what we hope to do as teachers. I hope that you will be benefited for many decades by the work of your teachers. Ben Franklin says, genius without education is like silver in the mine. You can be very gifted, but if you don't have much knowledge, it's not going to be much value. He also said, we're all born ignorant, but you have to work hard to remain stupid. Well, I've known a few people who have done that. Okay, now we're going to use that double bubble sheet that you printed off or that you created on your own as we fill in some information about the two gentlemen. You will probably need to stop the video as we go along. That's fine. You can stop and restart as often as you need. If you created your own chart, well, I wouldn't expect you to draw their pictures, but at least put their names in the second and fourth circle on that middle line. Okay, let's look at leadership. King Sejong was king for 32 years, from 1418 to 1450. Benjamin Franklin, among many other things, was noted for the Great Compromise at the Constitutional Convention, that kind of a compromise between the big states and the small states, which created the Senate and the House of Representatives. Next, literature in the middle. King Sejong developed the Korean alphabet, and Benjamin Franklin was a printer, a publisher, and a writer. And finally, science and education. King Sejong is credited with inventing the rain gauge. He also assembled the Hall of Worthies, the assembly of intelligent young men throughout the country that were trained to advise the king on many different areas. Benjamin Franklin, among many other inventions, were the lightning rod, and he also started the American Philosophy Society, where scientists could get together and discuss their ideas. So there you have it, a side-by-side comparison of two great minds. Hope you've enjoyed this. When you get the chart completed, take a picture of it and submit it to your teacher, and we'll see you next time.